In our previous video, we looked at how to install VS Code as an IDE we can use with Python, data science and machine learning code development. So now we are going to use it for build a sample Python code and to run that code. First of all, we can go through these steps of the getting started steps. If you did not walk through those steps, you may do it with me right now. The first step is the create Python file. Since we already have the Python extension installed, we can explore this option. So click on this create Python file. So how to create a Python file? So what you need to do is go to file, click new file, and then you can say Python file, and that file will appear here. So you can type print, as we do all the time, hello world. Okay, so this is your Python script. Now I wanted to save it, so I would say Control S, and then I will save it on a folder. So I will save it on my documents. I will say Python scripts. Okay, and then I can save my first script .py. Remember the Python, if you are not familiar with it Python yet, you will be in near future. So the extension for Python extension is .py. Extension for Python files is .py. So I'm going to save it, not as a plain text, but I will also select as a Python file. So I will say Python. So my file is being saved. So we have our first Python script created. So now we would like to run it. And how to run it using the Python interpreter, the install Python interpreter, right? So I would make the extensions disappear. What you need to do is click on the extensions button again, so the extension will disappear. Now you only have the code available on your screen. So now I would like to increase the font size to make sure you all can see it clearly. To run this Python script, so what is going to happen if you run the Python script? If you're familiar with any other programming language, you use the same thing when you are learning a programming language for the first time. So this is the print command, and it will print something on your screen or on the terminal. Just what is going to print is hello world as a text value. So let me click on this in this play button. So what is it it's going to do? It will run this Python file, but let's see what is going to happen. So it will run the Python script and display hello world. It display multiple times because I accidentally clicked it multiple times. If you clicked only one time, it will print one time only. Okay, so hello world is printed. So this is the command to run Python file. If you want to run it in your command prompt without VS Code, so this is how you can run. Assume that you type this in a notepad or notepad document, save as .py file, and then you have to call the Python interpreter, which is python.exe, or you can just save Python without exe as well. But you have to give the full path, because remember, we did not give, when we install Python, we did not say Python should be in the environment variables under path, right? So therefore we need to give full path to the Python interpreter, and then we have to give path to our Python script. Either you can give full path, if you are already in that folder, you can give the script name only, depending on how you use it. So this is the command if you want to run this same Python script in a command prompt. Okay, so now you know how to run your Python script for the first time. If you wanted to run and debug, there are other options available. You can expand that. You can see that is being also it can be used. Okay, so this is how you can type a Python script. So now let's look at how we can create a new file, which is a Jupyter Notebook file. You can choose Jupyter Notebook. If you are not familiar with Jupyter Notebook, don't worry about it. We will discuss that in detail, but you will see in a short while what it is. So I'm going to create a Jupyter Notebook file. So you can select new file and then you can select Jupyter Notebook, and I'm going to select that option, and you will see the extension automatically appear as IPyNB. So it stands for IPython Notebook. So even we say Jupyter Notebook, it came as IPython notebook, so that's why IPyNB. We can give a name to this notebook. I would like to save it, so let me click file and save as, and then I would like to save it as my first notebook. Okay, and then I would select Jupyter Notebook. So if it is available, if it's not, we may save as. Okay, let me see if I have that. No, I would say all files, and then I would put the extension. Remember the extension IPython, so IPyNB for notebook. Okay, I saved as my first notebook. So let's see how it looks like. So you will see something like a cell appear, right? You can type, so it's like a text box. So we call this is a code cell. Okay, if you want to add a new code cell, you can add a new cell. So we have now, we in this notebook we have 2 code cells. So what this each of these code cell doing? So let's explore that. So I will type the same command, print hello world on the first code cell, and then I will execute it. How we can execute it? Previously for the Python script, what we did was this is the Python script. We click on this play button and execute the script. It will execute entire script. If you have multiple lines or multiple instructions on this script, it will execute. But here it is a notebook. You have code cells. You can independently run them. To execute this code cell, whatever within this code cell, you can run using this play button appear here now. So if you click here, it will run and print result underneath this code cell. So let it be running. So what it is going to print, if you assume, okay, so there's a dependency. It says running cells with Python requires IPython kernel package. So one of the dependency did not install with this, but let me see what we can do with the change kernel if there's an option. Looks like we don't have an option, so let me try it again. So it asked me to install additional extension, so it probably will get installed, and you should be able to see the result. So let me try it again. It is installing IPython kernel, so let it be installed. So the IPython kernel is getting installed. This is another library we probably could install while we are installing using other libraries, using the pip command. But now since we are using it within VS Code, so the IPython is being installed, so we can use it right away. To get to know about IPython installation, I would go back to the Python package index or pypi.org website, and then I will type IPython, because this was the library we were missing in the VS Code environment. When we are trying to run a notebook in VS Code environment, it asks us to install IPython kernel. So what we were missing in our previous installation steps is we did not install IPython library. So here we are to install using pip command, because it is already being installed within VS Code, and it installed to our Python installation by VS Code without we running the pip command. But if you were to install outside VS Code, you may use the IPython repository. Again, search for IPython and do a careful check on the repository name, and you can choose this one and check the package home page. And this is the command. You can install IPython, pip install IPython, but we don't need to install right now in my computer or my Python environment, because it is being installed within the process of configuring VS Code for Jupyter Notebook. But if you did it before, you will not get that error message or the extra prompt to install it, to install the IPython, but it will run smoothly. So to make sure you are tracking the correct IPython package repository, so you can go to the home page and you can see the IPython home page. So the website for IPython is ipython.org. That's the official web page. Like little bit of details on IPython. So IPython is built to help the people who are doing data analysis or scientific computing to run code and also to get the output at the same time. So it makes it easy to interact with Python. So initially it came as a command line tool and later evolved into a Jupyter Notebook kind of a web browser based Python coding environment. Now it is being also integrated into IDEs like VS Code. As you see in the diagram, we will see a lot of results plots within the Jupyter Notebook, and you can create code. You can create a notebook with codes and outputs as a plot or text output, as well as you can have some formatted text on it. So it will make a easily usable Python environment, and also you can keep notes. You can present to another party, into an audience with a nicely formatted output or with your code. So we will explore IPython notebook or the Jupyter notebook and how we can use it for our data analysis work or the building machine learning projects, etc. But today we are not going to do that. We are just going to introduce how to use IPython or Jupyter notebook in VS Code. So here we have the code cell. We type print hello world and we execute it. So now since IPython kernel is now installed, so like again, IPython kernel is required to run Jupyter Notebook even within VS Code. Now it is being installed. So if you hit the play button, it will execute and it will print the output right underneath the code cell. If you want to do something else in the second code cell, we have the second code cell. So I would type a mathematical expression. I would say 1 plus 2. So what is the answer? We know what is answer. It should be 3, but let's see if we execute this code, what should be the answer? It will be getting printed. So it says 1 plus 2, the value is getting printed here. So as the output of that code cell, value 3 is printed below the code cell. So now you see the Jupyter Notebook organized code cells, and if you execute, you will see the output. And there's another cell type we did not explore yet, so which is markdown cell. Like I mentioned, you can have formatted text within the same Jupyter Notebook. So this formatted text, you can have HTML code, you can have markdown format. For example, if you wanted to say header, like with a big font, so it will appear as a formatted text value. You may have some HTML codes, like I will put a horizontal line here, so it will appear as a horizontal line. So you can change your color of the markdown cell. You can have LaTeX. If you wanted to write some scientific formula or mathematical formula, you can use the formatting. You can create many different formatted text for your presentation, or to keep your notes with the code, or to share your code with your students or your co-workers. So your code will be easily readable than the text code, and also you can execute step by step. That's the benefit of the Jupyter Notebook when we are doing step-by-step data analysis or machine learning related work. It will be very useful when you are doing experimenting, and it will be useful when you are doing step-by-step analysis. Okay, so we will explore this Jupyter Notebook a lot in the coming lessons, when we are learning how we can do the data analysis with Python, how we can build machine learning models with Python. But you may get familiar with the notebook before you go into that stage. Okay, I would highly encourage you to play with it and type some simple commands and see what you can do with it, like some print commands and some mathematical equations you can type. And I would just say like some of the things how you can create a variable. You can create a variable. If you're familiar with programming language, you know how to create a variable. I would call a variable is a. I will assign value 3, and I will assign another variable called b. I will assign value 5, and I will now say a plus b. So what should be the value? The value 8 is printed below. So like that you can use this Jupyter notebook to run code very easily. So what I did was I forgot to mention, so here I can click play button to execute this code cell, and also you can have a shortcut, shift key and enter key together. You can press shift and then enter, then your code cell will get executed. If you are on a specific code cell, if you press shift and enter, your code cell will get executed and value get printed underneath. Okay, so now you know some things about the Jupyter notebook in VS Code environment. I hope you will get used to a Jupyter notebook and get most benefit out of it. So today we are going to conclude the lesson with that, and we will continue with exploring VS Code and how we can use VS Code to build Python code, some complex Python code, maintain a project, and how we can organize our project folder within VS Code, and then how we can track changes, how we can track the project components, and how we can navigate through the lengthy codes. Like, so if you have a like 1,000-line code, then you may have functions, classes, and how you can link them. So if you are referring to a class or function in some other place of your code, it could be spread across multiple files with the thousands of lines. So if you want to refer where is the definition of this function you are using in one part of the code, you should be able to link it, and then you can click and then go to the definition of the function or the class, and then you can find out what things need to be edited if you want to debug. So that will be very helpful. So we will explore those things, how we can use Jupyter notebook and the Jupyter within VS Code and the VS Code IDE itself to make your data science and machine learning workflow much easier in terms of coding. See you in the next lesson.